Hello everybody. Candlelighting time this evening is 5:37. This Shabbos we're going to conclude the book of Shemos, the book of Exodus. And the Rebbe raises a very, very obvious question in the portion that we're going to read this Shabbos. You see, the Torah is very exact. There are no extra words in the Torah. There are no extra letters in the Torah. And yet we see an amazing thing. Several portions ago we learned how God comes to Moses and tells him, I want you to build me a sanctuary. And he describes to him exactly how it is to be built, the materials to be used, and the dimensions of the sanctuary, what should be inside the sanctuary, the ark, and he tells him the exact instructions of how to build the ark and the menorah, what it should be made out of, and every single thing, the table of gold, the altar, everything is described in detail. And then in this portion we're reading this Shabbos, it says, and the Jewish people built the tabernacle, the sanctuary, and it describes how they built it, how they made it exactly out of what God wanted them to make it out of, and how they covered it with the necessary covers, and every detail of all the items that were inside the ark are described in detail, exactly how they made it, the dimensions and the material. And the Rebbe says, why does the Torah have to repeat everything in detail? It could have said, after God gave Moses all the instructions and all the details of how it is to be made, it could have said, and the Jewish people made the sanctuary as God instructed, as God commanded, period. And it could have avoided the whole portion that we're reading the Shabbos. And the Rebbe explains that actually there are two sanctuaries. There's the sanctuary that God commanded Moses to build, and that represents the spiritual sanctuary in heaven. And when it says in this week's portion that the Jewish people built the sanctuary in all the details, that's because that represents the sanctuary, the physical material sanctuary in this world. And the Rebbe goes on to explain that this is something that applies actually in everything in the world. Everything has its spiritual counterpart. There are 613 commandments, and there are 613 spiritual godly powers that God gives to each and every person to be able to fulfill the mitzvah that it has to fulfill. And this is very reassuring, that as we go through this exile, as we go through the darkness of exile, and we have a mission to achieve, and we have things to accomplish, we should know that God stands and watches over us, and everything that we need to do, we receive a spiritual power, the spiritual strength that comes to us to be able to fulfill each and everything. And we hope that as we go through this exile, we will be able to put an end to this exile by all the mitzvahs that we do, and we'll be able to welcome Mashiach, and that should happen very, very soon. Have a very joyous and meaningful Shabbos.